Welcome to Grow My Business or Sell It, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs in 3 ways: how to grow your business in the most cost-effective way, how to sell it for as much money as possible, and how to invest the proceeds of all that hard work. Whichever stage you're at, listen up, because I guarantee you'll take something valuable from every episode. Welcome back to Grow My Business or Sell It with me, Graham Rowan. My guest today combines being the founder of Quantum Group, which is a multiple award-winning fintech incubator that owns 2 fast-growing unicorns, with being the leading light in the Compass for Life Foundation, providing leadership and values training for everyone from school children to senior teams in sport, business, and the public sector. He's made the rare transition from military leader to entrepreneur, having joined the SAS at the age of 22 and being awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal for his work in Iraq and the MBE for his service in Afghanistan. He's written multiple books on leadership and is also an award-winning speaker. His name is Floyd Woodrow. Floyd, welcome to the show.
Graham, thank you. It's great to be speaking to you once again.
Thank you. Well, let's just take up the story as you leave the military after more than 20 years and return to civilian life. And, that can be a challenging time for any soldier. So how did you cope and what did you decide to do next?
To be honest, I've been really fortunate to prepare myself before I stepped, Graham. I'd done a lot of work on personal development. I took every opportunity to learn different things. I'd studied law and psychology whilst I was in, and I was really keen just to see how I could do in a slightly different environment. I had a great career. I joined when I was very young. I joined the Parachute Regiment and the Special Air Service. I had a full career through the Special Air Service and finished as the head of the counter-terrorist wing. But what I felt was that I wasn't growing anymore. I just thought that it was time to stretch myself and then go into a different environment. And I just wanted to see whether I could, do and have a business journey in exactly the same way I had a military journey. So I stepped out. I was very fortunate to go into a company that was on the way up. Sadly, as with all of these moments in time, I stepped out in 2008 within a week of the crash happening, and then stepped into a business that went from having a very, very large funding line to having none. In fact, its funding line was cut dramatically in a single day. And so that group, who had just bought a number of businesses, had to redefine itself. So I learned an awful lot, to be fair. I learned an awful lot within that very initial transition. And the significant thing that I learned was, one is it's great to sort of be the master of your own destiny still. I've always believed and been very fortunate that that's the way to run things, because then you're beholden to nobody at the end of the day. If you make mistakes, you've made those mistakes. If you have successes, you can take those successes. So it became really clear to me to be running your own businesses and then looking at diversifying. I think at the time of the crash, I realized really quickly, look, don't just have all your eggs in one basket. You must diversify. And I think I'd still say the same today. I think as things have progressed and we've seen a number of different elements go into turmoil, I think having that ability to adapt quickly to different market spaces is immensely important.
Yeah, and I guess really you made what would seem to be a pretty wise choice in getting into kind of high-end security with your background. That was a very high area of credibility for you. So the journey began, I guess, really with becoming security consultants and then growing what is now the Valkyrie business.
Yeah, Valkyrie was obviously a really great start point for us, and it fell out from, as I said, the initial business that we went into that just struggled. It struggled to bring things together and maximize, again, what I thought was enormous potential. I still think the model that we had when I first came out was the right model, which was taking some phenomenally diverse elements of security, but bringing them under one umbrella and then force multiplying their capabilities, but simply by aligning them. But sadly, each of the groups that we brought in were not solid enough to come together as a group and have a team focus, what I call, as you know, a super North Star. They weren't actually aligned, therefore under pressure, and they just kind of broke up very quickly, sadly. But the principle behind what they were trying to do, we took into a smaller group, which is my partner, Peter and I. We decided that, look, the best way to do this was just to condense that slightly and have a multitude of different areas that were really niche in their market space, but also delivering really, fundamentally top line security products, which we did. And we just started to build a reputation from there. And we were very, very successful in a number of areas. And we've just continued to grow, to be honest. And we've got a great managing director and team now that are enhancing all those areas and continuing to develop what I think is still a pretty good product. And I think we can develop that more. Sorry, Graham, to interrupt there. I think, as with all of those things, it's always been one of the mainstays of our organization. But we could do with giving it even more TLC than we do at the moment, in fact, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. But I think what people may not realize is, you look after sort of presidents and royal families. You have the I think the locking system in the Houses of Parliament and things. So there's some really kind of high end and unique goings on in that security business, and it's an area that most people probably don't come into contact with. But there's a really strong demand for it from that kind of the people that are in that niche market.
Oh, no, without a doubt. The investigations that we've been carrying out as well, and some of the due diligence elements, have actually been really far-reaching. I mean, we've also been very, very fortunate. We've handed a number of cases over to the police, from which they've been able to then go and, let's just say, prosecute some of the individuals that were, I would say, terrorizing some clients that came our way, for want of a better word. And I think that's one of the things I've always enjoyed doing, is being able to be there to help other individuals. I mean, obviously we've done it from a commercial perspective, but some of these were really abhorrent crimes that were affecting a client's family and their community. And I think one of the things we were able to do was, again, do something at such a high level, be able to bring in the experience from a number of top ex-policemen, to make sure we brought all the evidence to bear, that we did everything absolutely by the book, and then were able to hand over these elements to the police, who were able then to minimise the difficulties the clients were going through.
So has the growth in Valkyrie been primarily organic rather than through acquisitions?
Yes, to be honest, that's what we've done with Valkyrie. It's been very organic. We've looked at a number of, strange enough, we have looked at a number of businesses that we have wanted to acquire. And there are a couple I probably do have my eye on. But to be fair, I think overall, how we've continued to develop it and build it with a really great reputation, I'm very, very pleased with. And as I said, I think we'll hold to that for the moment. But there's masses of opportunity in that field.
And how do you get to meet and know these high-level people that you then become responsible for from a security perspective? Is it very much kind of personal relationship based?
Yes, in an awful lot. It's always about networking, Graham. I'll just state for anybody on this call, is that you've got to make sure you build a great network. The bigger the network, but when I say network, I don't mean just every single person you possibly come across. I mean, being very, very careful about what that network is. And then also, one of the key elements to me is that you help people. I think we've also done an awful lot of pro bono work. I continue to do tons of pro bono work in so many areas, giving people advice, pointing them in the right direction. And before it would even come to us as a commercial arrangement, if we can clear it up beforehand, we do. And I've done that again on a number of occasions. But because of that network and because of the success, again, ultimately success breeds success, people then just connect with other people and say, look, you want to be with these individuals, they're very, very good. I've also had a number of pieces of work come through from when I've been working on, which is a love of mine, which is the coaching and development element. I've done a lot of work with senior leaders in business across FTSE 100, right across the board. And strangely enough, every now and again, somebody will say to me, actually, Floyd, I know it's been great on the leadership development side of things, but we've got this issue. Is there anybody you know that can help you? And strange enough, there is. I've been able to pass that on to the team. And as I said, we've had some phenomenal success there. And one became a multinational investigation, and then continued to develop literally as a result of 2 or 3 successes. and we were able to help them out on a global scale. So that was really, really good.
But I can see, the sort of progression here now. We come out the SAS, you get into the security, you're doing all these kind of things. But how on earth do we then make this leap across into the world of fintech? Where did that come from?
Again, I've been really fortunate. I've always been surrounded by very talented people. And one of those people happens to be my partner, who was quite an expert in this particular field, although stepped away from it from a number of reasons. He just felt that it wasn't going down the correct, transparent way that we've always believed it should do. And of course, I've always thought that in any business, you've got to have that emergent strategy. So I think you have a direct strategy, because I think it's massively important to be really clear on the steps that you're taking, the milestones, the clarity of what that looks like, and being able to communicate effectively, all of those wonderful things. But the most important thing is you have an emergent strategy because of circumstances. And again, my experience has always been this way since stepping out in 2008. And it also suggests my military background and career was exactly the same. Have a clear strategy, but have an emergent strategy that can enhance it, come round, seize opportunities, make shortcuts, get ahead of the game. I think that's really important, an emergent strategy. And if you look at business, the business world, whether we've had Brexit, or indeed we've had Ukraine, or indeed any multitude of different things in between, you've got to now start to think, how do we get ahead of the competition? How do we innovate? The other key thing is basic things done really well. And the reason I bring that up is because there's a number of things that sort of fall out from this emergent strategy. Two people that used to work with him came into our office with a really good idea, and they were turned down sort of flat, to be fair. Peter did not want to get back involved in this particular area, but they were quite persuasive, and they were two very good salesmen, actually. They came back in and literally convinced him to give it a shot. He then came up to me and said, "Look, Floyd, I just think it's a great opportunity." And then, of course, he talked me through it in a really clear way. Again, we're very clear when we come onto these types of things. For me, it was about facts. And the good thing is, because I'm cold to this, I don't have any emotion to it either. So I'm just straight down the line. Let's have the facts, the figures, the detail. Let's look at it from an innovative perspective, positive dangers and risks. So I go through a nice bit of analysis. We're ticking off literally all the boxes, other than that you still have to make a punt at this at some stage. But when you look at it, again, you've got to go to intuition. There's a brilliant word called intuare, which is a Latin word for trust yourself. And for me, I've always followed it. I would never change it either. You just have a feeling sometimes that there's something about this that could work. And it looks good in the sense of the concept's really good. There are a few areas to work on. But let's give it a go. And so we bought 25% of the company, and then we realized, actually, again, some of the basic things weren't done as well as they could have been. The team have had to build this over a long period of time. It was working, it was doing its job, but there was lots of little areas that needed to be enhanced, and we needed lots of tech to come in to make sure it was supported efficiently and effectively, and also to allow it to grow and go into other areas. And so we worked on that really, really at pace, I'd say, to be fair. And then we ended up buying more shares, and eventually we ended up taking over control of that business over a period of time, because we could just see the opportunities. And I've not regretted that at all. It's been a tough journey, because as with all of these things, we go through the pandemic and everything else. You've got to work hard to keep these things on the road. And I'd say my partner's put in a big shift on this. I've got to say he's been exceptionally good at managing the operational level and developing it and bringing in the right people. And the other key thing on this one is growth, is making sure that you're always bringing in talent that can underpin and backfill where we're not as strong. I mean, we're both very good leaders, I think, in terms of being able to make the right decisions and being able to ask the right questions. But to do that, you need people that you can trust to come in and manage the areas in the right way and show the opportunities that we needed. And we were very fortunate. We brought in a great managing director of Velopa, which was Graham Smith, who is just superb in so many very, very innovative kind of guy, but also very detailed. I mean, what was great about Graham, he was able to stabilize a lot of things, make some great connections. He's got some great connections from his former life in MasterCard and things of that nature. And then we had some great other people to support him.
And I think, I mean, I think you just want to rewind slightly. So I think it's very interesting that the approach you took here, which was that you did all your initial research and you thought, yeah, I think this could really go somewhere. But you didn't initially go all in. You bought 25%. Now, did you, at that stage, had you agreed terms on how you might acquire more, or did you just leave it at that and then come back to the table later to say, we'd like to buy some more?
Yeah, and also there was a reason to do that. This needed a lot of investment. It needed, once we'd really drilled down onto it, there was a lot more work to be done than we probably initially anticipated. To be honest, as with all these things, is you never quite, until you start to really drill down. And I'd always suggest that's something that, whilst trusting your intuition, then I'd also keep coming back to, you've still got to do the groundwork. Your due diligence in this space, in any space, is massively important. Now, that's not to say that we were completely offline. We kind of knew there would be a lot more to do. And then it was just a simple thing as you've got to invest more to make these things grow. So it comes back to, just one of those approaches that you have to make. And that's what we did. We just thought.
So you traded your investment for additional equity, effectively. Is that how it worked? So that you gave the project and the company the funds it needed to grow, but in return for that, you took a larger and eventually a controlling shareholding in the company.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting model because obviously with technology businesses, you're never quite sure if it's going to take off, if it's going to achieve what you hope. And I guess from a risk management perspective, by dipping that 25% toe in the water, that earns you the right to lift the bonnet and have a good look inside it, what's actually there. And you could, I guess, just as easily have decided, oh, this is too big of a mess, there's too big of an investment. So, if we'd pulled out at that stage, the cost would have been relatively modest. And then, but, obviously in this case, thankfully, you thought it was enough to go ahead with. So, I mean, is that something you've repeated, that kind of strategy of partial ownership when you come across a technology business?
Yeah, we've done exactly the same with Tail. So when we acquired another business, we did the same. Really great idea, and we bought 30% of that particular business, and then we ended up getting 100% over a period of time. Same principle is that, look, ultimately, if you see an opportunity, then you've got to back this. I think the other key thing is none of these things are going to be given to you. If you want to be successful at some stage, you are going to have to commit. Time, energy, resources. There's always a payment to be made somewhere down the line, and then again you can see I would say the same with Tail. We really sort of moved forward in that area. Certainly over the last 18 months to 2 years, I'd say we've really taken that to another level. But when we first went in, it looked like it was a great product, and we thought it would work. And then, of course, again we have the pandemic, which kind of knocks it back slightly. And then you've got to, as I said, see if there's opportunities moving forward, and then you have to commit. Ultimately, you have to turn around and say, is this worth that commitment? And if it is, then you have to be prepared to lose as well. And you and I both know, ultimately, with all of these things, is that you could make some great gains, but you also have to be prepared that sometimes in fintech, especially, if it's not successful, it's not going to be successful, and you'll have to take a hit.
Yeah, well, let's just tell, obviously people listening to us are not familiar with the company. Just tell us, first of all, about Velopa and what it does and who it serves.
Yeah, of course. So Velopa is a prepaid multi-currency card system, 14 different currencies on it. And basically it allows you to make a really good financial transaction and minimize the payments you're going to make on the FX. We've got a really great refined model. It's 1%, which is what you will pay, which again, I think across all currencies, but also the speed of our service. The way that we have managed everything is a totally state-of-the-art concept and product. So I think that's going to go absolutely to in competition with any group out there, right across the board. Obviously, we do a lot of B2B stuff with it. That's probably our biggest market space, and that will continue into the future. But I think we'll also open up other opportunities with other slight changes to that particular dynamic in the future. But a really, really good, solid business, and I'm massively proud of the team that are going into that business now, and we've rebranded certain elements, and it's just growing in such a really dynamic way. Aligned under what is the Quantum Group, we also have Tempus Magazine, which is a magazine you'll probably find in first class lounges, which is an internal magazine which we literally cover some of the best brands you could possibly imagine come across, who use us to get their messages out, and we use it as well as a great way of probably getting our message out on the security side, on Velopa, on Tail, which is a cashback facility that's actually used by some of the top brands out there to make sure that we can effectively get money back to you as a customer, to the retailer, to any other group that are within that particular ecology of payments, and we literally are probably one of the best groups to work within that particular space. That's a great bit of IP that we've been developing, and it continues to grow. I mean, we've got some phenomenal brands that are supporting it at the moment, and literally every single week we are gaining clientele.
And one of the things that interests me, because through the Beaufort Society, I've been working with you and Peter for 3 or 4 years now, and you really do run the business with military precision, and there are very clearly defined KPIs. There are very well chartered kind of organization structures and things. And do you think that discipline that you've brought in from your background has really helped to grow a business that, let's be honest, there's no, some of these fintechs, they burn through an awful lot of investor cash without ever getting anywhere. Do you think you've managed to keep a tighter lid and a control over things because of the approach you've adopted to management?
I think we've been world class in that area, Graham, if I'm being honest. I think we've been absolutely world class. I mean, a lot of organisation in this space are losing millions of pounds. I can honestly say our burn rate is at the minimum it could possibly be. We've been really, really efficient and effective in minimising that, mainly so that we want to be one of those rare groups that does hit profitability. We want to be able to turn around to people and say we've done what we said we would do, which was maximize the income coming in. And I think when you look at what we've done, our numbers, the way we've been effective, whilst not compromising on the product, which I think is really important, or the people. So I think on all of those, the people that we've had supporting us and growing with us have been exceptional. I think that's down to the culture that we create. But more importantly, we've made sure that we don't have silos, that we've got a great level of trust. I'd say there's passionate debate within the group. So whilst we lead it, what we've got is we are not the experts in some of these fields. I think this is really important. And I think it's important on leadership. I don't need to be the expert because I know what a good idea is. I know what the right decision is to market something, or to get it out to the right people, or indeed to say, no, that's not what we're doing. I think that's really important, that as a leader, you don't have to be the expert. You just have to make sure you've got experts that you do trust, that are able to speak and to challenge you. I mean, on 2 occasions, I would say, through passionate debate at the right time, with managing expectations, but also doing some great research and coming with facts. I think what I love about this is when you come with a really strong set of facts. I was probably looking at something, I'm smiling because I was looking at something thinking, I just can't believe that's correct. However, when they lay it out, they give you the facts, the research, the fact that it's a different demographic to the one that I'm looking at, was brilliant, because again, Peter and I are both able to go, no, you're right, that's got it, thank you. And I think that's the key. Doesn't mean it's consensus or democracy, because it's not. I don't think leadership is that. But what we did do was listen, got the best ideas, the right information, and then you can make an easy decision. Then it's about good commitment, so that when they walk out, the teams are committed to delivering on what they said they were going to do. I think that's the other key thing, is what we're good at is hitting milestones and markers and making sure that when you state something, that's the delivery. So KPIs are important, OKIs are important. Let's be really clear. That's what we're expecting to hit. Now, if you have to change it, fine, but don't drop it on the table the day it's supposed to be done, because that's not helpful. Because of accountability, I think the key thing here is the teams don't want to let each other down. So therefore, you raise performance and you're able to challenge in the right way, but more importantly, support. If we feel somebody's slipping, then it's support. First of all, how can we help? What do we need to do? And there's challenge there. There's the right amount of challenge in the sense of, look, we want to be at this level. Let's stay at this level. That's not some insurmountable level, but it's a tough level. Let's make sure we hit it. And that's for all of us. We all get pulled on if we don't hit the right lines.
And I think certainly one of the things that's impressed me, certainly in the last sort of 18, 24 months, has been the caliber of people you've been able to recruit, who've come often from big name companies to, this relatively unknown group. So, you have to assume they're excited by a combination of, I guess, the technology itself and the way you guys are running the company.
I think that's one of the great things about it. We've been able to bring in some top quality individuals into the organization, because they've seen the ability for not only for a great product to start off with, but they've also seen the potential of the organization. And I think this is the key, the potential of the organization to grow and to really get into this space in a significant way is super clear. It's always been clear to us, because it's it's like you see it every day. But when people are coming in from all different walks of life, some of the top organizations that could go anywhere. I mean, there's no doubt about it. These are highly talented individuals, and they've chosen to be with us. Who is that? That group that's coming to challenge the marketplace. I think has been exceptional and actually invigorating. We had a meeting in December. And we brought everybody together. We had a great conference day. And what was amazing to me is sometimes when you're doing everything, you forget to take a step back. But we weren't presenting. We presented for about 5 or 10 minutes. The team presented. Each group came in. The new MDs came in. They presented. And I actually sat back. I think it was probably the first time where I sat back and just literally I turned to Peter and just went, actually, wow, they are unbelievably good. Their enthusiasm, their clarity of direction that they wanted to go in, some of the innovative things they were looking to do. Literally, I was blown away. I literally see them all together at that moment and presenting in the way. Obviously, you're still coming out of COVID. You still haven't probably done that as well as we could have done in the past. But I think that was exceptional. So yes, it's a great moment to be within the team, I think.
And of course, another challenge when you're managing growth on that scale is funding it, and that's where obviously we've worked closely together in recent years. So just tell us a little bit about that kind of relationship with the Beaufort Society and our kind of fundraising and how that's worked for you, and how how it's helped to get to this point.
Oh no, it's been brilliant, Graham. I think again, what I've always loved about the group is, and I've spoken to them on a couple of occasions, is that what you get is a really insightful person, a group people coming in to look at the marketplace, being wanting to listen to the product, but also looking for the people. I think again, I've got to be honest, one of the key themes of all the people that we've had on board. And I know people may smile and go, well, would that really be the case? I can honestly say it has been about culture. It has been about fit. And all of the people that we've been fortunate to partner with moving forward, and I do see as a partnership, have been exceptionally good. I mean, really good people that have come and they can see they're challenging, of course. Let's not beat about the bush. The challenging, which is what I would expect. But they're very supportive as well, and they've supported us on this journey. And again, the relationship that we've had with you has been special. Without any shadow of a doubt, very special relationship, because it is that support and challenge. You've been challenging to us when we've been less than clear. What do you mean by this? And making sure that we have articulated things well, and the support has been there as well. So I like those relationships. I think that's the only way you'll ever be successful. So for Peter and I've got to say it's been a phenomenal relationship. And as I said, literally, they've been great to be around and be with. And we also had some great advice. So let's also come back to that partnership relationship. Sometimes people have said, have you thought? And I'm a massive believer, if I haven't thought it and it's a better idea, I'll definitely take it at any time.
Excellent. And I love one of your criteria that you laid down very early on was that any new potential shareholder in Quantum Group had to be somebody you'd be happy having dinner with.
It's so important. And again, I'm going to be really clear on that. We've had some interesting discussions with different people on this journey. I've seen some people who literally do not meet that criteria. And we've had some challenges with those people. And therefore, it is super clear to us that I'd rather hold on that than ever compromise it. And we've not had to do that.
So with Velopa and Tail, did you have to kind of kiss a lot of frogs before you found these princes, or were you fortunate enough that through personal contact you were introduced to companies just at the point where you could actually add some value?
There's again both. I don't think if you're very fortunate to come across and you just walk in and get those people, then you've had an easy journey. If I'm being honest, I've got to say, no, you'll come across lots of different charlatans. So let's not beat about the bush here. You will come across, and there's no better words to describe them. You need to do due diligence. So let me be clear again. Make sure you do due diligence on anybody you come across, no matter what the background is. And as an interesting one, I'll just digress slightly just to give you a slight one. Even when the downside is when somebody gets introduced to you from somebody you know. So I'd still come back to, still just do another cut. That helps. So let's be clear. If somebody comes to me, it's a personal acquaintance, they go, Floyd, you can trust this person. It's a pretty good marker. But I would still say, even then, every now and again, trust your intuition. And if you get a good feel, then go with it. But if you don't get a good feel, and we've been in a situation where twice we've not had a good feel, even though it's come from a reasonably good contact, maybe not top end, but good enough. And both of those, by doing the deep due diligence, made sure that we unearthed two people that were not only just trying to take us for a ride, but were actually taking a lot of people for a ride. And we were able to, again, dismantle both of those situations. One which was for a lot of money, and I mean multiples of millions. And we were able to uncover that they weren't quite as truthful as people thought.
Wow. Okay. But also, as well as obviously the private individuals who've backed the company and got involved, you've also had a great vote of confidence from the British Business Bank.
Yeah, and I think that's something I'm enormously proud of as well, is that I think when you've got, and I think that's probably one of the great things, one of our key values is transparency. It is to make sure that we're totally transparent. And of course, as a financially regulated organization, you have to hit the right numbers. You have to make sure everything is absolutely above board. And of course, getting a group to come in to do a proper evaluation, a proper look at what you're trying to do, and then come in and support that particular development. You've got to turn around and go, that's a pretty impressive group that are committed to moving you forward. So no, I'm enormously proud of that, to be honest. I think that's been one of our big ticks as well.
And of course, now I guess 2022 is a real key year for Quantum Group, because you've built the platform, you've brought in the senior team and the people underneath them, and now you're just going through this really rapid growth phase that I'm hearing numbers like 1,000 new tail clients a week or something, and lots of new corporate clients for Velopa. So as you see this scale starting to happen, apart from obviously a sort of warm inner glow, where do you see it going from here? Do you have a direct line towards an exit, or are you just kind of seeing how big it can all get first?
No, I know. But the extent, I think, when you look at this, I mean, you want to maximize the potential of this organization for a number of different things. I have a massive drive from a philanthropic perspective. I do a lot of work with disadvantaged kids, and I'm really clear that a lot of some of the stuff we're doing here spills over to enable us to do that. And that's going exceptionally well. We've done some great work in schools, education, and in a vast number of other areas as well. So I'm really keen that we maximise our potential. But no, at the moment, what I want us to be is one of those organisations that you can turn around. I think the word legacy is a powerful word, and I want to be able to grow this business into as to the highest levels we can possibly get, Graham. If I'm being honest, I want to really drive that forward. And certainly the next 3 to 5 years, as we see this developing in such a way that we'll be breaking into some of the top echelons of business, and being able to be judged by our peer group in this particular space as being one of those brands that has really come to the fore, but also done it in the right way. I think what I want to be able to say is that we're not just one of those things that people are putting a lot of bets on. I think I want it to be almost a certainty that actually we're developing our product where we're going to make sure everybody benefits that's supported us and that's on the journey with us, and that people can turn around and go, they were proud to be a part of this business that's now gone on to become something for the future. So no, I don't anticipate walking away from this at all. I anticipate being part of the journey going forward, and then just getting some talented people in to come on and keep on backfilling the spaces that need to be backfilled.
Okay, but also I guess the structure of the group gives you some flexibility. So that, for example, you could keep some parts, but you could divest other parts, depending on the level of interest, either through an IPO or a trade sale. I mean, there must be some thoughts in your mind as to how you might want to.
No, I think IPOing is let's be clear. I mean, there's no two ways. We will want to IPO at some stage. Definitely, that will be a given. And and what we've done with the business and how the structure is, we've made sure that we can do that as well. So it's not been difficult. It would not be difficult to do that. And in some cases, you can see that as being as part of this journey. Really, we don't anticipate it's all going to fall under that one umbrella. It will end up morphing into a slightly different structure going forward, and there are options there as well. I think the great thing about where we are, we've got options here, and I do believe without that we've got two really good journeys here. There's two parts of the business that literally I would be surprised. I mean this in the night. Not of course there might come. I would be amazed if we weren't successful. I just look at them and just go, there's it's as good a position that we've been in now as we've ever been in. And as I said, right team, right direction, everything's going well. Operationally, we're absolutely A class. I would be amazed if we weren't successful in the future.
So are there any other acquisitions in the pipeline for Quantum Group?
As I said, Graham, right at the beginning, I think you've always got to have your eye on the emergent strategy. But what I'd also come back to is never losing sight of the priorities. So the key theme here is to make sure that we get certain things well over the line. I mean, we're there. For me, it's about over the line, being clear that you're moving towards what we class as our Super North Star, which is maximizing those businesses. And then we'll always keep our eye open for other options. And I think as we move on and the business become more successful, it allows us the freedom to do that. But we're very focused at the moment.
Okay. So let's just turn finally to your work with Compass for Life, and just talk about some of the organizations you've worked with and how this kind of coaching program at a high level has really impacted them.
So I've been really fortunate. And again, where the network has built and allowed us to grow is I've literally worked in every sector, business sector. I've worked with the military. I've worked with education. With government organizations, and obviously, as I said, really big into education. So I work with 5-year-old children right the way through to top business leaders, and I've done this around the world. So I've got a number of multinational organizations that I currently work with, who are literally, I would say, we probably cover the world. The other day I was on with 33 different countries doing the leadership program. And the good thing about the program that I run, called Compass for Life, is that I don't have to change the program at all. Whether I'm working in Barnet, which I was about a month ago with a primary school with year 1 to 6, as I said, talking to people in China, in Portugal, in Finland, I can keep the same concept Because the simple concept, again, about that journey of success, it's about making sure that you have a clear view of where you want to be, what I call a super North Star. So for all entrepreneurs out there, the clarity of that vision is massively important. You need to be clear. You need to be able to articulate it, see it, and make sure you understand what it will feel like to get there. Really important. Got to have a South Cardinal, which is strategy. Again, facts, figures, detail, but breaking the journey down. I've been on a long journey with all of the businesses. Not one of them is an overnight success. You have to be looking 5 and 10 years away. But to do that, you've got to break it down into smaller chunks, smaller milestones. You've got to make sure you've got the right resources, the right people, analysis, real analysis, no emotion. But you've got to use wisdom, common sense, and judgment. You'll be inundated with good ideas, inundated with information. You've got to make sure it's the right information. These cardinals are always about values. So that's the people around you, your values. What are you not willing to do? How do I build a team that's aligned, no silos, all pointing in the right direction, all setting aside individual needs and ego to win together? Massively important. And then the West Cardinal is being resilient. That's mental and physical resilient. You've got to look after yourself on this journey. Again, I see far too many people that don't look after themselves, and therefore you lose energy. You won't make the right decisions. So physical fitness is important, but mental resilience, understanding how to layer resilience. So visualization, breathing, having power words, belief, all that inner talk is massively important in order to get the compass in equilibrium. And then once your team's in the same space, you're looking after your team, you've got wise leadership, all pointing in the right direction. And then I just think you're difficult to beat, even on your worst day. And of course, we're always going to have bad days. Therefore, you need to be at the top of your game on that day. And if you are, they'll just be difficult to beat.
Now, I can see how enormously valuable that would be to the sort of senior leadership teams you've talked about. But what kind of reaction do you get when you talk to school kids about this sort of stuff?
Graham, if you saw me, and I must get you to come and see this, there is no difference. Seriously, if I can, and people smile at me, they say, how do you talk to kids in the same way? Honestly, I was with a group of 5-year-olds, year 1 kids the other day. And again, I bring up the subject about what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you see? And of course, their enthusiasm, their energy. And this is an interesting thing. Most people will say, oh, kids don't know what they want to be. That's just not true. All kids have ambition. All kids want to become something, want to aspire to be something. The key is to unlock it. And the minute you unlock it, I've had some of the best, most in-depth conversations you can possibly imagine in each of those 4 areas. And as I said, if anybody goes on to any of my videos or sees my LinkedIn profile or watches what's happening, you'll just see children coming back with things. As I said, we sort of limit children's behavior because we're adults. We think they should not be able to do it. We are the biggest cause of that limiting behavior. Once you allow them to believe and grow, you will be blown away by them. Literally blown away.
And I think, well, because that then raises the question about the rest of the current education system, which I'm not sure really serves them well in terms of exploiting that potential.
Yeah, and again, I think that at its best, so again, I've been really fortunate. I work with a great group in South Wales called Educational Achievement Service over 5 different counties. Now, that group really do try to unlock aspirations. They've got really great levels of, I suppose, commitment would be the key. And they really want to transform education. And we're working alongside them and taking Compass into most of their schools at primary and secondary level. I've been working with their entire leadership team, and that's inspirational. Barnet, which I said from Barnet Council, are doing well. Cardiff, the same. So there are some really big councils that are taking this on board now. But that's because I've worked with them as leaders as well. So I've worked with them as leaders. They've seen the effect in schools. And as you're aware, I also work with the military now. So I'm going back into the military and working with their instructors and the recruits in order to enhance that journey. And again, get people to coach and understand how to develop performance. And the good thing about this is always about performance. What we're talking about today with the things with the businesses, it is about performance. Ultimately, you've got to step into the pressure zone. That doesn't change in any walk of life. So I think the simpler that you make that journey, then you can aspire to be something, whatever you want to be. I think that's the key thing, is then just that aspiration to be whatever you want to be.
Brilliant. Okay, well, as we come towards the end of our time together, Floyd, I want to put you on the spot and say, from all of your own experience of building business, of being a leader in the army, and being a coach to these senior groups with Compass for Life, what would be the three main kind of lessons you'd want to leave with the business owners that are listening to us today that you've learned across your career?
Right, really good. So the first one is Super North Star. Be massively clear on what you're trying to achieve. I mean, be really clear. Don't just this kind of in this vague area. You need to see it. You want to see it, feel it, hear it, be able to articulate it, and if you can, draw it so that everybody else can see what this looks like. And that should be 3, 5, or 10 years away, whatever that looks like. I'd also do it from a personal and professional perspective. So you're looking at what you want the business to look like, but also what you want to become, the person you want to become, and more importantly, some of the things that you want to do to grow as an individual. Really important. The second one is trust yourself. So this is really important. Again, that intuare, Latin word for trust oneself, really important. If you get a great feeling, explore it. I'm not saying just jump on it, but explore it. Get a bad feeling, explore it. Don't just dismiss it. Trust that feeling that's enabled you to get into the marketplace in the first place, probably. Don't go blindly down either one, whether it's the best information or the worst information. Make sure you just do a little bit of work in that space and then commit. And don't faff about on committing. When you commit straight away and go for it, because then you'll find out one way or another. Too many people sit on the fence at that stage. We're waiting for too much of the perfect information, the perfect deal, the perfect investment. It's never. The minute you're waiting for that, 1,000 people have already stepped. So, as I said, trust yourself. The last one is values. You've got to hold to your values. I was in a situation once where I've been in it a number of occasions when my values could be challenged. Either someone's come in and said, I want to do this deal, where you've had to turn around and go, that's just wrong. It's a wrong deal to do. Trust it, never take it, right? Never take it, because you've got to stick to those values. But also when you get challenged or somebody tries to take something away from you, be willing to fight for it. So again, come in. And the reason I say that, you'll always have challenges. On one particular area, when I had a particular company, somebody tried to take that down in a really aggressive way. Real nefarious group of people. They had no values. We had to fight for it, and we won because we stuck to our values. And I'm a massive believer that those things work. So with those three things.
Fantastic. Great advice there. And all I can say is, Floyd Woodrow, thank you so much for joining and sharing with us today.
Graham, it's been a pleasure as always.
Thanks a lot. Bye for now. If you'd like to suggest topics for future episodes, appear as a guest on the show, or invite me onto your podcast, you can get me on graham@grahamrowan.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on Grow My Business or Sell It.